see. Hey guys, today I got beside me a Troy-Bilt push mower. This is a self-propelled push mower. The main idea of this video today is going to be on how to diagnose an issue, a no-start issue with your small engine, push mower, whatever it be. I'm probably going to lean more towards how to repair a push mower in general. This could be any size motor, any size cc. I know nowadays that instead of horsepower they go by cc's. It says 190 cc on it. I don't know what that equates to horsepower wise, but for the most part they're all very similar. One thing I do know is they all need three common things: air, fuel, and spark. If you don't have all three of those, then odds are your mower is not going to be running. And time again I see the simplest things get overlooked, and these get set out to the curb, or people just give up, go out and buy another one. This one in front of me today I got from a guy. He said it worked every now and then. So I have not diagnosed this yet, but what I'm going to do today is run through every single step regardless of what's wrong with this today. We may not get it going, we'll see. But from my experience with these small engines is I always find something to get these things going. And I've even gotten them going to the point where, yeah, they are burning oil and they're basically needing a rebuild, which at that point, I just junk them. If the motor is just spitting out oil, I'm not one that's going to spend my time rebuilding a push mower. I'll just go out and get another one. So this is just going to be a very basic, a very straightforward video, and let's dive right into what I do when I first get a mower in and I'm trying to diagnose what's wrong with it. First things first, let's make sure that the motor is not locked up. And you can do so by holding down the safety and giving it a pull. And that way we know that this mower is not locked up and we continue to diagnose it. If you pull on that string and say it's just not budging, this is what you do next. Be careful, because depending on which side you flip the mower over, either gas is going to pour out of the intake or oil is going to come out of the muffler. It's just something that's going to happen. That's why I try not to, when I'm working on these, keep either one on their side for very long. I'm going to flip it on the gas side because I'd rather have gas on my floor than oil. But I'm going to hope that that doesn't happen. So say you go to pull this string and it's just not going. Something's wrong. If it isn't a locked up motor, then sometimes I've seen these hydro locked, or just they've sit so long that something's rusted internally. You just got to break it free, and you'll hear that muffler talking to you when you spin that. So pull cord's froze, give it a spin. Be careful, because you're going to physically grab that blade, and just rotate it until it breaks free. Now if that does not break free, then your motor is locked. I probably can't help you any farther than that. Okay, so next thing, all that's out of the way, what I like to do is go to the gas cap, and I like to pull that off, give it the look, and right away I can tell there's no gas in this thing. You can give it the sniff test if there is gas in it, and find out if it's stale. If you believe it's stale, then I would definitely replace it with fresh gas. And if you don't know what stale gas smells like because you just don't work with it enough, or you're not around it enough, go to a can that you have on hand, or some other small piece of machinery, chainsaw, something, and give it a whiff, and you should be able to tell bad gas from good gas. If it smells similar to gas you just bought, then I would roll with it. Sometimes it can be just a little bit stale and still be fine. But if you know it's old, go ahead and replace it. I would say anything over a year, go ahead and replace it. Okay, so we're gonna add some fuel to this. Not too much, because we want to make sure we can get it going. Usually I can tell if I'm moving that side to side and I see it splashing. There's plenty of fuel in there to get it running. And another thing is I like to check is the oil. Grab a rag here. If the oil is empty, you don't want to burn this thing up. So clean it off and check it. This thing is bone dry. I can show you on here. Not even registering. I think I just got a drop off the side of the, I don't know if you guys can see that, but not even registering. And we're just gonna add oil. You can get away without having a funnel. And just gonna check that. And it's registering. Okay. All right, now that we got gas in it, I'm gonna pull the safety down and give it a pull. Let's check and see if there's a prime. Yep, there's a prime. So we're gonna pump it. A lot of times it'll say 3 times, but I'm gonna pump it until I hear physical gas squirting through. Right there, you can hear gas cycling through. So I know it's getting fuel. And it should have started by now. No, it's getting fuel in there. What I like to do next is I always go, almost 9 times out of 10, I go right to the air filter as the first diagnosis. It's just something that gets really overlooked on these small engines, particularly the push mowers. I don't know why, but a lot of people overlook that, or they'll look at the filter and think, oh, it's good to go. So I'm going to just assume this thing is plugged up, but we are about to find out. So a lot of these mowers use this particular filter. I am very shocked. I know the guy said that he had just put a new spark plug in, but I don't remember him saying new filter. I know he either said he sharpened the blade or he put a new one on, but this thing is almost brand spanking new. So, that being said, there's gas in here, probably from me tilting it or from me priming it. So I know fuel is getting close to the carb. Fuel line looks good from what I can see. I'm just going to wipe this filter housing off because it is not the cleanest. Actually, I might just blow it off. All right. So now that I know that this filter is good to go, I'm going to move on because I believe it's getting fuel. I don't know that for a fact. Could be a carburetor issue. But I know that this typically the filter, I think I jinxed myself before I started this video because I almost was betting it was this filter. But how'd you get to this point? What you want to do is you take that air filter, and if it was obviously shot, replace it. What you can do if you don't have a filter and you want to see if that was the reason why it was using oil, why it was smoking, which I see a lot, these air filters will be completely plugged up and all you'll see is either it won't run or it's just smoking like a freight train. Go ahead and replace it, but if you want to make sure before you purchase that filter, go ahead and run it without the filter. It's not going to hurt anything. You're not mowing 12 inches of grass and getting debris up in the carburetor. So that being said, make sure the carburetor is clear though, that there's not a bunch of grass that could fall down and get into that carburetor without the filter being on, but you'll be fine. So you get to that point, prime it, pull start it. If it starts, that's your issue. Sometimes you can flood these, but I'm going to go ahead and say that I do want to look at a few things now. This is the self-propelled hand latch here. This is always the safety. The one closest to the mower is always the safety. So I'm going to pull that latch. I'm going to bring it over here. Hopefully you guys can see this. You can see yes, there's a lever and a spring. You can see the lever physically moving. So I know that the cable itself is working. Do I know that the safety switch is working? I do not know that. It is electronic. I can physically see it. And I can see where the metal, I'll let you guys in here. So you'll see here, there is a metal contact and you can hear it clicking. It's a switch. And when that metal armature touches, it kills power. Now, this switch could be bad and we might test it next, but I'm kind of leaning towards the spark plug right now. I want to see what kind of shape the spark plug's in. So next I'm going to pop off the spark plug wire. I'm going to test my socket. See, now that was just finger tight in there. So that right there is going to keep this thing from running right. Wasn't even in there all the way. That's a very wet spark plug. So had this been just awfully dirty, and I'm going to say like black, if I can get it in range there. This obviously is not black, it's just wet from the fuel. And you can flood these. So go ahead and give it a wipe. If it's black and you think it's the spark plug, which I've seen a completely caked up spark plug keep a mower from running, what you want to do is, I know this isn't always the right way, but I always wire wheel them, just get the crud off. The more proper way would be to probably spray some kind of cleaner. But if you don't see shiny metal in there, especially on that spark plug tip, and if you don't see shiny metal where the spark is actually sparking, this little tit here and the top, you need to get that clean some way, somehow. And the most appropriate way is probably to spray it with some kind of cleaner, engine cleaner, and wipe it off. If you can't get it clean to look like this, then you know there's probably, it's probably due for replacement. And if that's the case, take a wire wheel, go ahead and clean it up really good with that wire wheel and pop it back in, see if it fires. But I'm going to go ahead, pop this spark plug back in. I'm going to hand tighten it. Tighten it physically. And since this was just in there loose, I'm going to give it a try. Now I'm going to prime it 3 times, or until I hear the fuel physically coming out. So I don't hear any fuel right now. There's the fuel. Okay, should be good. We're gonna give it a tug. Okay, that's not it. And one thing I should have done before I popped that in there was I need to see if we're getting spark. Because if not, that's going to eliminate our spark issue. Because remember, we need air, fuel, and spark. We know that the air box is clean. We know that the spark plug is clean, but is it physically sparky? And the way I like to check this is be very cautious, because once you do this, the blade can spin on you. But what I like to do is I like to take the safety and close it and clamp it, just like that. So all I have to do is pull this and not try to hold that safety and do two things at once and see this thing sparking. But the easiest way to do this, if you have a second set of hands and you can have somebody pull, is you just hold the spark plug while it's in the spark plug wire and hold it up to the metal. Typically I just hold it on these air fins right here and have them give it a pull. If you don't have a second set of hands, I take my spark plug, and keep in mind that that safety's closed, so this thing could potentially take off if somehow it got fuel in it and spark. I don't know. Just keep your hands free of the blade. So what you want to do is you want to put the spark plug, the base, on touching some form of metal. You want to hold on to the spark plug wire so you're not going to get shocked. You're just going to give it a pull. And what I'm doing is just pulling I'm wrapping this. Let's see if you can see it. Just wrapping this in my hand, this string, and I'm essentially just shortening it. And I don't know if you guys can see that spark, but let me zoom in. See if you can see it there. Okay, yeah, perfect. That is good spark. I'm gonna zoom back out. Right away, I know that this thing has excellent spark. And what we've also eliminated is that the safety switch that I showed you earlier is working properly. We know that we do not have to diagnose that safety switch anymore, because if I go and release the safety switch, it should not spark anymore. And the reason why, actually, it doesn't even want to turn over. It's very hard to pull without that safety switch engaged. So there won't be spark if that safety is not engaged. So right then and there, we've eliminated our safety switch being faulty. So now we know that this thing has spark, it has air, a clean airway, and we believe it has fuel, but we are not 100% sure. I'm going to say it does have fuel. So what I'm going to do is prime this really good and see if it fires up. So I'm just going to assume that this mower had flooded from the spark plug not being all the way in the engine, and just getting it started and let it run really clean things up. All right, guys, I'm really stumped because I feel like I found nothing wrong with this thing. The safety's working. The filter is very clean. The only thing I can think of is the guy put the spark plug in and didn't tighten it down, and over time it just wiggled out. I'm really stumped here on what the heck happened, but it can be things as easy as that. And that's why I wanted to run through every single step with you guys. And that right there just goes to show you it can be the most simplest thing as a loose spark plug. I hope this video really helped you guys out on diagnosing your small engine. Again, we ran through the basics. I might have left a few things out, but these are going to be the more obvious things. Obviously, if you have a bad fuel line, it's going to be dripping. So I didn't throw that in this video. That's going to be a pretty obvious sign. If you have fuel actively dripping, you're going to want to replace that line. I didn't go over the carburetor stuff because I didn't want to get too hands-on in this video. I just want it to be the simple things. Like if you're on the edge of just taking this thing to the end of the curb, or if you're just really wanting to replace it, itching to replace it, and you want to find a reason why. If it not running is not good enough and you want just to make sure that you can't get it going, go through these simple steps. And I hope you have great results. It being low on oil, I really don't know why, because I just don't know why. Maybe it was because it was on its side. Like I said, if you have it tilted on the muffler side, you're going to leak oil out. If you have it on the air filter side, you're going to leak gas out. So without knowing what happened along the way with this mower, I'm going to assume, though, since this is the telltale sign on the muffler here that this black kicked on carbon, just goes to show me that this thing was burning oil at some time. So I'm guessing that he replaced the air filter, but he overlooked the spark plug being loose for whatever reason. I mean, I literally took that plug off. I put my wrench on it without checking it, and it was just barely in there. So maybe he just finger tightened it and didn't know what he was doing. I really don't know. But I hope this helped you. Again, and then I do want to touch on something else. If you do check the spark plug and it's not sparking, odds are it's going to be the safety switch. There's videos all on the web on how to test those switches and bypass them. I'm not going to do that on this video, but go ahead and go that route. Start researching how to test this safety switch. A lot of times too, I see is if the cable is not pulling enough back and there's too much slack in the line, it won't separate those contacts. You want to see that switch not being depressed. You want to see it away from the safety lever, so it's not making physical contact. So in other words, when you pull that safety handle down, those contacts need to separate for the mower to want to start. There's no adjustments on these other than you can move some zip ties around and you can play with how they hook up to the actual bar that they mount to. But somewhere along the line, someone may have put the wrong cable on. It could be frozen. You might just need to replace it. Again, I hope this helped. One other thing that I want to touch on is if you don't physically hear, if say you're pressing on this bulb and you don't ever hear fuel spraying, you can pop this off and view that carburetor and physically see that fuel spraying into that carburetor. If you don't hear it or see it, odds are your prime bulb is shot. Typically you would see leaks or cracks. Something's not working in there. Your carburetor probably needs cleaned out. And I also wanted to touch on something else really quick. If say you get the mower running and it's just really hard to get going, but once it's running, it's fine. Or you get it running and it just sounds like crap. You know, it's not operating at optima RPMs. I recommend throwing some seafoam in it. You might find that all you need is to dump a little bit of this in there and let it run for a little bit, and that might get you up and going to where you were before. And that might surprise you. I've heard mixed things about it. I've heard that it can loosen things and make things run worse. I've always had good results with it. I typically only use it when something's running rough or I suspect a clogged carburetor. And this is kind of like a last resort before either replacing or cleaning or rebuilding the carburetor. So just maybe give that a thought. Throw some of this in there if it's something you want to try out. And thanks again. I'm gonna wrap things up for today. That's gonna be it. I hope this video really helped you guys out. And again, as always, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and drop a comment if this video helped you, or drop a comment if maybe I left something out and you want to add to it for the next guy. See you guys next time.